Hello, Video Game Hunter here, and welcome to my video. So, a couple of weeks ago, Steam went on a massive flagging spree, sending a lot of developers emails saying they violated Valve's rules and guidelines for pornographic content in their Steam game. But this was just mostly going towards the anime games like Honey Pop, which a lot of people were calling this incident the anime apocalypse or the waifu holocaust. This incident probably wouldn't have been a big deal with these games like Honey Pop if it wasn't for the fact that they already been through the censoring process and working with Valve to make sure their game was good enough to be on Steam store. So it is kind of weird that these companies are receiving this email notice, and some people were even speculating it was because they were linking uncensored patch to their games to revert it back the way it was supposed to be. Which is a possibility because it is against the rules. Which leads people calling out Steam for this because it's okay for a AAA game like Witcher 3 to have sexual content and be on Steam store, but it's not okay for indie games like Honey Pop to have them. Who I have to agree with because that's pretty much a double standard. And yet, there is some good news that came out of this. The first one I'm going to mention is that Valve did send everyone an email saying to ignore the email they received previously from them, and they will re-review your game and it will be back on Steam store. But the best news actually came out today, which may be a couple of days or a week old by the time I upload this video, but Steam put up a blog called Who Gets to Be on Steam Store. Now this blog is not too long, but it's a very important post. It's just talking about the challenges they go through when they review a game to be on their store, where they see if the game contains adult theme, violent content, racism, politics, and so on. Which I have to say, they have been struggling with what is acceptable to be on their platform for a very long time. Especially when they receive complaints from organizations who have issues with some of their games that are available on the store because, you know, they have to think about the children. Which I kind of say is BS. And I mentioned this in my previous video that Steam does offer a family lock on their kids' accounts that can prevent them from playing and viewing certain games on Steam. Like games like Hatred, for example. That game, when it was first announced, received a huge backlash and it was taken off from Steam temporarily before Gabe Newell stepped in and told them to put that game back up. Now, enough delaying. Let's get to the very important paragraph in this blog.
We decided that the right approach is to allow everything on the Steam store, except for things that we decided are illegal or straight up trolling. Taking this approach allows us to focus less on trying to police what should be on Steam and more on building those tools to give people control over what kinds of content they see. We already have some tools, but they're too hidden and not nearly comprehensive enough. We are going to enable you to override our recommendation algorithm and hide games containing a topic you're not interested in. So if you don't want to see anime games on your store, you'll be able to make that choice. If you want more options to control exactly what kinds of games your kids see when they browse the store, you'll be able to do that too. And it's not just players that need builder tools, it's either developers who build their controversial content shouldn't have to deal with harassment because their game exists and we're building tools and options to support them too.
This paragraph alone, I support 100%. I really do believe that any game should be allowed on Steam and be uncensored unless, like they mentioned in their post, as long as they don't consider it illegal or trolling. Which I understand, and if a buyer doesn't want to see a certain game or the child playing a certain game, even though there's already a family lock setting, they can improve this feature and I think majority of the people would be satisfied. Including builder tools for creators who are actually being harassed by a certain group of people. For example, a group of people known as EndSexualExploitation.org, who was claiming to be responsible for removing sexual content from Steam when that original email was sent out, which clearly, by now, they really didn't win, and they have yet to update their little article claiming their victory. Now, I know some people are a bit worried about this news or not pleased about this, which is understandable, except for those people who are not pleased, which I will get to in a bit. Now, I'm not going to rant too much longer, but some people are worried that we're going to get even more shovelware on Steam, and it's going to be even more impossible to know what game is good and what game is bad. Except, I never had this issue, and a lot of my games I bought were recommended to me from people on Twitter, or was recommended to me by my fellow YouTubers I watch. Not to mention, you can always check out the review on the Game Steam page. That's one thing I look at before I make my final decision. The only game I ever regret buying is Sexy Serial Killer. The name alone basically tells you not to buy this game. I also like to mention, you can always get a refund if you don't like the game, as long as you make the request in less than 2 weeks after purchase and you play less than 2 hours. Now, the people who are against this idea are the typical people who are pro-censorship and they hate fun and art. Which, I have to say, get the fuck out of here and let me enjoy my anime titties. This is the Video Game Hunter, and until next time, goodbye.
I want a hentai girl for me to make me happy. I want her so I can stop using my hands every single day while watching anime. I pull her from my screen just like in my dreams. I want to feel her touch, mainly on my crotch.